Superman pose with a Batman shirt. Give me a lasso, some red, and add my last name of Fish, and you got your. Oh wait, and I got a computer here. You got the Justice League all wrapped into one. And yes, my last name is actually. I don't think I've actually ever said that my last name before. No, my last name is actually Fish. So there you go. You got your Aquaman reference. The Snyder Cut. So I woke up this morning. I'm like, okay, I gotta watch the Snyder Cut today because it just came out, and I know I'm gonna get people who want me to talk about it, and I want to watch it. And my God, does that 4 hours? I've still got a headache from staring at the screen for 4 straight hours. I mean, I wear thick glasses as it is, so, I run the risk of headaches when I go watch movies to begin with. Normally, I don't get them, but when you stare at a computer screen for 4 hours, it wears on you a bit. It does. But still, I watched it. This is going to be a very unique type of review because this is also a comparative review of the original of the Joss Whedon Zack Snyder Justice League and how different it was. But as it stands as a whole, is this Justice League, would I call this the definitive Justice League compared to the Joss Whedon one? And that's, I guess, what we'll call it, the Joss Whedon one, because he overhauled a lot in that film. Not to compare too quickly, or we'll go more into comparison in depth later on. But yeah, when you actually look at the changes in the film, this is a very different film. This is a very different film. So yeah, and that's, I think, one thing I'll start with right at the front is I've heard a lot of people say, well, the ultimate end game was going to be the same no matter what. It's still the same movie. It's just all the stuff you didn't see. I'm going to disagree with that completely. The stuff they added back in, and the few things they added in general, like Jared Leto, and I think the bit more of Deathstroke we got, that changes things up quite a bit. And it does suck. We're not going to, at least not anytime soon, we're not going to get any sort of follow-up to this. If we get another Justice League movie, it's going to be way down the line. I think the positive reaction we're getting from the people who saw this film is a step in the right direction for us to get another Justice League. It definitely doesn't hurt, but it's unlikely we'll see and hey, it's holding a 78%. I don't care who you are. That's good. That's a good number. Apparently, it's Zack Snyder's highest rated DCEU movie. So take that for what it's worth. That's a win. But yeah, when you add everything in there and take out the stuff Joss Whedon added, it is a very different movie. Overall, do I like this version of it? Yes, I like this. In fact, I'd say as a complete story, I like this more than the Joss Whedon one. I do think this is the better version. It actually adds more depth into the character. Like Cyborg's story, for instance, is a lot more fleshed out. That's great. We actually get to see Darkseid, which is fantastic, for the first time. And he's the little we see. We don't see a lot of him, but we do see him. He's ever encompassing in the background. There is plot points that are led to be set up for a future Justice League movie. Steppenwolf is handled a lot better. The team interaction, I feel, is handled a lot better, even though that was one of the things I would kind of liked. The action sequences do look better to some degree. It's still a little shaky at some points because there's a lot of effects going on. I'll say this, Cyborg's effects actually didn't look the greatest compared to the Whedon version. And again, I'm trying not to compare too much at the moment, but we'll give it major into that in a moment, in a little bit. It is overall, I will say this, 4 hours is just too much. Like 3 hours is one thing. Endgame, Avatar, those things I can handle. 4 hours, one go sit. And let's be clear, it's on streaming. I could have paused at any point and taken a break, but I'm not going to do that. I wanted to watch it from beginning to end. That didn't need. I can think of a couple plot points that could have been taken out. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Snyder wanted all of his vision on screen, and you know what? Props to him. He fought for it, and he got it done. To be fair, I think it's Deborah Snyder came out and said, and by the way, I did like the little tribute he did for his daughter Autumn at the very end, just like for Autumn. Like I thought that was very sweet. But Deborah Snyder basically said this wasn't going to be possible until HBO Max came around. Once HBO Max came around, the idea of actually making this really actually finally came to realization, finally became a legitimate possibility. There was no way it was making it to theaters. It just wasn't. And looking at this, like, even if you were to shave, and I think you could probably easily get rid of about 30 minutes of this film, but at the same time, it does all narratively flow. Like, it just seems long. There's a lot that's in this movie that almost seems like if you cut it out, you will miss something. But I can still think of probably at least 15 to 30 minutes minimum you probably could have cut out. That's not even including the epilogue or the new stuff they actually shot with like Jared Leto and stuff. So, I mean, still, it's really well done for what it is. I do think it's better than the Justice League we got in theater, the theatrical Justice League we got. Did they take things out from the theatrical cut that I actually liked? Yeah, actually, they took out a couple things I actually liked. But still, ultimately, I think they did a pretty solid job. So, that being said, let's actually compare and contrast here, because that's what I think the big bulk of this is going to be. It's broken up into segments. There's like 6 segments, and plus the epilogue and the little nightmare sequence we get at the end there. Yeah, you're out of your mind, Batman, all that. And immediately you can tell that a lot of the jokiness that was in the theatrical Justice League, like, oh, something's bleeding. Or, you know, he's not going to come back, Pet Cemetery. Like, Pet Cemetery. And, booyah, we're not there yet. No, actually, I mean, Flash is still quippy, but there isn't that scene where he just draws the face on the guy's, like, draws marker on the guy's face. That scene's not in there. There's no booyah or anything like that. No, they actually they temper Flash down a bit, and they actually make him a lot more grounded, I think. Particularly when we're talking about resurrecting Superman. He actually talks about how he doesn't just say I can do it if I build him with speed, I can generate a charge, but he goes into actually saying, like, once I hit light speed, I don't like doing it, but once I hit light speed, or close to light speed, I can generate enough. He talks about that, and we do basically get that moment where he actually has to go into the Speed Force or go back in time to save everyone because they actually fail for a moment. So there is that moment as well. You know, one misses the days. One's biggest problems will wind up penguins. Like we don't get that one. A lot of the jokes are gone in this. There is still a dry humor though. Like, for instance, Bruce Wayne says, Batman says, you know, we'll hook it up to one of my satellites and say, you got a satellite? I have 6. Like, that's a funny line in the context of that. There are still lines that are in the movie. What's your superpower? I'm rich. Or, you know, how'd you get the house back? I bought the bank. It's like, you see Clark's face. Then, you know what? Right out of the gate, the fact that we don't have Mustache Gate really helps. Like, oh my God, it helps. Because the movie doesn't even start out with that scene with Superman. Like, that scene was clearly a Joss Whedon scene. And every scene you had with Superman fighting Steppenwolf was in the theatrical one, was, with the exception of actually pretty much everything. He was in the Stare suit, but he's in the black suit in that fight. And even at the end of the movie, he's in the black suit. There isn't that race which, to be fair, I actually thought was kind of fun. That race scene with him and the Flash in the end post credits. So there's a lot of the humor has just been taken out, but it's replaced with more solid character growth and more solid character interactions that I really appreciate. For example, Steppenwolf. First off, Steppenwolf looks 1,000 times better. I like his armor. His armor almost seems like it's like muscle fiber and organic. Like when there's a scene and there's a clip on it online you can find it. Or of course you could just watch it if you have HBO Max, which I hope most people who are watching this do, where he gets like shot with a bunch of arrows by the Amazons, but it's in his armor and he just flexes it and cuts them off. And I'm assuming the tips are still in there, which is odd, but he just cuts the arrows that are sticking out of him off. Like, that's pretty bad. It's like, we actually see more character with him in this one, a lot more than we saw in the original theatrical cut. They kind of hint at, yes, you betrayed Darkseid in some way. You owe him 50,000 worlds or something like that, blah, 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 blah. But I found the anti-life equation, which is a plot point here. And then Desaad is one talking to him. There are things, though, that don't add up in this version when you look at where the DCEU went. Like, for example, the fact that they're just pulling Atlanteans out of the ocean to interrogate them. But we know for a fact that only, like, those of noble blood can actually breathe out of water. We know that Mera can do it. We know that, Orm can do it. We know that, what is Willem Dafoe's character, who does, in fact, show up in this, by the way. With some of the... it's ridiculous. Especially when we see it later on. Like, one of these things is not like the other. I actually can't remember what Willem Dafoe's character was. But no, they're just pulling Atlanteans. Like, okay, so are they all of like noble blood or something? No, I don't buy that. Okay, so that's something that clearly they didn't establish in their lore early on. They established that in Aquaman, not in the not planning out the DCEU, because let's be honest, there was no freaking plan. There was like the bare bones minimum of okay, we want to do Superman, okay, but now we want to introduce Batman. Why don't we have them fight each other in the second movie? You probably should save that. Maybe make a Batman first and then do that. I don't know. I like Batman v Superman a lot, actually. I own Batman v Superman, but I admit, like, your logic in that is iffy. So yeah, there's definitely some logic holes in this film, 100%. This is not a perfect film. The Martian Man, like, I like the fact they at least brought him back and he did look better than when we first saw him. The CGI isn't fantastic, but it's not terrible on Martian Manhunter. CGI I thought was pretty good on Darkseid. Like, Darkseid, Steppenwolf, Steppenwolf looked a lot better. Darkseid actually looked pretty good. Now, if you know Darkseid to some degree, but not to an extent, you may be wondering how the hell did they lose, if you know how powerful Darkseid actually is, how did he lose the fight we see in the flashback as Dan is explaining it. Cause that's not Steppenwolf fighting. It's Darkseid, fighting. And, he actually gets Ares' axe to the throat. And, they have to pull him back. Well, if you don't know the lore, here's just brief lore. He's actually not Darkseid was never born as Darkseid. He was born as, I'm probably going to mispronounce the name, Lex, and he was a new god. So he was still immensely powerful to conquer all that, but he was not Darkseid. What happened is he fell into something known as the Omega effect. Omega energy. And he became the embodiment of tyranny. He literally became a god, the god of tyranny itself. Then he became Darkseid, and then his power is at that point now it's like Superman doesn't want to even tangle with Darkseid half the time. That's how strong Darkseid became. That's a general summarization, but that is Darkseid's roundabout origin. There is more to it, obviously, but that's his roundabout origin. So I'm watching, it's like, okay, how many people are probably going to be pissed that Darkseid lost that easy? But I'm like, he wasn't Darkseid at that point. He doesn't have the Omega beams or anything like that. Later when we see him, it's like, oh no, he's got the Omega beams. He's got the... Granted, we only see that once, but the one time we see it is actually pretty damn awesome. And then we get the fact that in the sequel he was planning to invade Earth. Like, it's like, the old ways are best. I don't remember who's. I'll admit, I wasn't. Maybe it's because I got spoiled by Michael Ironside as a kid, who voiced him in the cartoon series. But I'm not sure I love Darkseid's voice. But again, he's not even really he's in the background. He looms. He looms like the Emperor does. But I'll admit, I don't know if I loved the voice they gave for Darkseid. It wasn't terrible. It just, I could have thought better. But they took out a lot of plot points too, compared to the theatrical version. For instance, that whole family thing, and the family that was living in the area where the parademons and Steppenwolf had set up shop, that was ignored. In fact, they basically said there was no one living there because they like absorbed all the radioactive or radiation, the radioactivity, the radiation. Also, I'll admit, I missed the Danny Elfman Batman theme that we kind of had, and I know you didn't want, like Zach, I know you didn't want anything that Josh added, but I'll be honest, that would have actually been pretty cool because we still get a pretty cool chase sequence with these guys. I'll say this as well. When I mentioned that they also took out dialogue too, like anything that involved the mustache gate, if you will, with Superman was taken out. So any of the lines he said to Batman when they kind of squared off when he came back was no line. In fact, there are no lines in that scene at all. Actually, he it's like, I remember you. You won't let me live. You won't let me bleed. The world needs you, but it doesn't need you. Tell me, do you bleed? Like, that could have... I actually thought that... Honestly, what I thought that was them just redoing the scene a little bit and stuff like... I don't know. I don't mind the fact that I didn't... I definitely don't mind the fact they didn't do something's definitely bleeding. But I like the fact they didn't do that. But... I don't know. That scene could have at least the whole like, I remember you, and then Lois comes and they fly off. I like the fact too they actually address why Batman's gauntlets can actually take that energy. There's a plot point where he actually redesigned his gauntlets to similar to Diana's, and Diana even makes a joke about this. Like, oh, gauntlets that can absorb and redirect energy. Maybe you should give him a lasso, except in black. But yeah, that's why his gauntlets can take the parademon blast. He even takes a couple blasts from Superman, although he's hurting. But there's a scene in the theatrical cut where Bruce, obviously after getting his ass kicked, he's telling the team do what they need to do, and his arm's basically kind of it's a little dislocated, and Diana goes and helps him out, and they actually have I think an actual pretty solid conversation, solid conversation in there, which kind of, and it's not that they imply that Diana has legitimate romantic feelings for Bruce, at least not not like flat out, but they still subtly hint that there's an attraction between the two. At one point, they both reach for a mouth. It's good. No, it's fine. It happens. Like, I'm like, okay, are we gonna play more with that? Because I do like the idea of them at least trying to have a relationship. With Diana moving on, finding maybe another romantic interest besides Steve, Bruce finding something beyond just the mission. I do like that idea. And I think they honestly explored it more in the Whedon version, or the theatrical version, than they did in this version. So I'm like, I don't know. I like the fact that Zach at least kind of hints at that, but didn't go all the way through it. And I did like that scene, surprisingly. Although you could tell that was one of the redone scenes, or reshot scenes, or just add scenes in the theatrical cut, because you could tell Ben Affleck was not Batman big anymore in that scene. And there is actually a scene at the end where he's talking to John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, where you can actually see it going back and forth, where Bruce Wayne is getting out of bed after having the nightmare sequence, which we'll get to, which I'll talk about probably at the end. And you could see the difference in just his arms. Like my arm, like that's my arm. My arm, like when I flex, I actually have a decent amount of muscle, but like that's kind of what Bruce had, what the Ben Affleck had overall in that scene without flexing, like at best. And yet when in another shot, he's got an arm that's like twice as big as, like it's out there. You can see the fact that he still had his Batman physique going on. I don't know. I just found that humorous. I do want to touch on that too, Batman. One of the complaints I've heard from some people, not everyone, but some people, and I'd be lying if I said it wouldn't maybe fall into kind of this category of people, is that I'm actually, Ben Affleck, I don't know if he's my favorite. I'm still probably a Keaton guy, but Ben Affleck probably comes in as close second, because he really encapsulated like the anger of Batman. Like Bruce Wayne's gone, Batman is who he is, and Batman v Superman really capitalized on that, I thought. But in Justice League, well, I definitely like Justice League. And I still think Ben Affleck's Batman is good in Justice League. It's very clear that because it was more Whedon, because of Whedon's sensibilities, it was a bit more of a comedic edge, which unfortunately I think made Batman come off more as Bruce Wayne puts on the mask of the Bat versus Bruce Wayne is the mask of the Bat. And I've heard that completely before, and yeah, I'd be lying if I said that's not a problem in the theatrical cut. In the Snyder cut, we don't get that. We do get the impression still that it is Batman who is the personality. But even though he still has moments that sound like he's got a spark of hope in him now, he's still very much the Batman. It's like Faith, Alfred Faith. He says it in he says it in a very different tone than say what he would normally say like in Batman v Superman. But at the same time, he's still got that very much hard edge that Batman originally did. It's just now he's got that kind of spark of hope in life. So I didn't want to comment on that. Like I said, I think Cyborg's story is he has much more to do in this story. He's actually a central point of this story. Flash, I think, is honestly handled better. He's not as goofy or kind of just silly, but he's still very, he's still it's still well handled. Honestly, Wonder Woman is the one character who I think actually she's not bad, no, but in terms of like stuff to do with her character, I actually think she gets a bit shafted in the Snyder cut compared to the theatrical cut, because we had those conversations with Bruce and her about how she shut down. After Steve, he's like, you shut down, so don't tell me about moving on. He calls her out on her crap a little bit. Like, yeah, she gets angry and stuff when he says that, but he's telling the freaking truth, and she admits that, like I said, that one scene they took out where I'm like, I actually like that scene. So I don't know. I mean, I know Snyder didn't want any of Whedon's stuff in the movie. He just wanted the stuff he shot. But I don't know. I could have maybe done with keeping those scenes. Maybe. But then again, the way those scenes play out also not quite the same. Because there's characters that don't make it out of the Snyder cut that do make it out of the theatrical cut. So it does change things up. Like this, let's be clear too. This is not canon technically. This is just an alternate version of think of it like alternate timelines. Basically, yeah, because just think of it as Earth 6197-B versus -C. There you go. But yeah, let's end this off with again. Overall, I really like the movie, and I like the fact there's two things at the end. You have the Deathstroke scene, which actually is extended just a little bit. Like, you wanted to kill the Bat pro bono. Why? It's personal. Eye for an eye. It's like, I can give you something better. I can give you something. His name is Bruce Wayne. By the way, even though Lex is smart enough to probably figure out who Batman is, that always sat wrong with me that he just figured it out. He just knew. I don't know. And I think it's because, and again, no offense to Jesse Eisenberg, but I actually like Jesse Eisenberg. I think he's actually a very good actor in the right movies, in the right medium, and the right vehicle for him. Lex Luthor was not the role for him. I get what Snyder was going for, but I didn't really like it that much. I mean, to be fair, I don't think he actually went off the rails. Don't get me wrong, I don't like the hair and everything, like, whatever. I'm a bit more traditionalist, but I'm open to new things. But he didn't really go off the rails until he pitted Batman and Superman against each other. It's like, you killed your family! And he throws Lois up. It's like, because then he's just going wacky. Before then, he is at least calculating and conniving and all that. But anyway, yeah. He basically, so if we had gotten the Batman that we were supposed to get with Ben Affleck, then, and Deathstroke was supposed to be the main villain of that, that was leading us into that. Where Deathstroke now knew who Batman was. And Deathstroke's a character who can give Batman a run for his money in terms of a physical combat fight. Like, he's beaten Batman on several occasions in a straight out fight. But at the same time, Batman can match him as well. Honestly, it's because Deathstroke is willing to kill him. Batman normally isn't. But I digress. But then you obviously get the nightmare sequence where we basically, now I'm like wondering, like, okay, what's the deal here? What is this? And then I realized, okay, it's a dream sequence. And sure enough, it's Bruce dreaming again. I'll admit, I was half expecting him to have Diana next to him in bed as they were kind of just like sleeping after, a night together. But I'm like, whatever. I'm like, darn it, I really like the pairing, actually. I wish they had explored that more. Whatever. But no, we actually do get, finally, we basically get the Resistance as it is, which consisted of Mara, Cyborg, Deathstroke, Batman, and the Joker. But Joker was very much, there because they needed him, and frankly, Joker just, wanted to do stuff. Like, he didn't give a shit when he saw Superman come down, willing to kill them. It's like, so that's it. But I think what I really liked about that scene, I think what most people are gonna like about the scene, is the fact that in Suicide Squad, we never had an interaction with Batman and Joker. We had a Joker established in this universe, we had Batman established in this universe, and they never interacted. We finally get Jared Leto's Joker and Ben Affleck's Batman interacting together. Now, a fun fact I found out about the scene is they were actually never on set together. They, and when you look how that scene plays out, too, you can actually tell they're not on set because they keep cutting back and forth. And the few times you see them kind of on same, as you'll see like the back of the one or the back of the other. It's clear there's someone else they're playing off of. But no, it's the way it's finally great to see how these two kind of play. Granted, it's not in their normal environment. It's in a post-apocalyptic, dark side ruled Superman's evil environment. But still, it's like Miracles. Have you ever loved it? Oh, little. What did he call her? He called her a fish or something like that. Oh, he knows all about that. Mother, father. Batman just be careful what you say next. Adopted son. That's not being careful. Never send a boy to do a man's job. It's like you can tell these two are, and you can finally get an idea of what their relationship might have been like in the normal. Like, oh, these two, Joker loves to screw with Batman, and Batman just does not give a shit. I like the theory that the reason Joker has a grill, like all his teeth are like metal, is because Batman punched them all out at some point. I do like that theory. I think that theory, I don't know if that's confirmed, but I like it. It's a good theory. But I like the fact too that, Joker was like, this card, it will truce. But tear it off, tear it apart, and I'll be more than willing to come back into it. And then Batman finally goes, like, funny you talk about death. When Harley Quinn died, I can't remember if he said he killed her or she died in his arms. I know she died in his arms. He said to kill you in the most painful way possible. And when I kill you, and I fucking will. Like, they do throw an F-bomb here and there, which I kind of liked. It'll be slow, and he just takes the card. And you do see, and at first I'm wondering if, like, Joker just got stabbed or something like that, but you can see, like, Joker is, like, actually kind of shook a little bit, like, you bastard, you brought her up. And they say, I almost believed you for a second. Like, oh, man, that was... I don't know why. I mean, I never hated Jared Leto's Joker. I think the problem, like me and Mark had when we saw Suicide Squad, and we brought it up in the review, is that we never see how other people react to the Joker. There's a great saying that when superheroes want to tell scary stories, they tell Batman stories, and when villains want to tell scary stories, they tell Joker stories. That's kind of the thing here, is that we actually never got the impression most people were afraid of the Joker. At least most superheroes or anything like that are afraid of the Joker. In actual comics and even movies, super villains are afraid of the Joker. What was it? One of the Crisis... was it Crisis on Infinite Earth with Superboy Prime or something like that? Where the Joker basically, is being someone's like, what's going on? What's going on? And it's like, no one wants you because you're crazy. And Joker actually is like, beats the guy because he's upset about that. And then when the, I think depowered Superboy, he's like walking around Lex and Joker's corner and say, you know what, your biggest mistake was not letting the Joker play. And the Joker's just like, yeah. She's like, I'm going to beat the hell out of you, kid. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, we never get other people's reaction to the Joker, just Harley Quinn's or the random guard that that was, beating her. So, yeah, ultimately, it's... ultimately, it's good to see that relationship kind of pop on the screen. Yeah, and like I said, ultimately, I think this is a better version. This is honestly, I think it's a much better version of the original movie. If it could have been cut down, yeah, I would have cut it down. 4 hours sitting straight, it gave me a headache. I still have a bit of a headache now. I'm feeling better now, but it gave me a headache. I'm like, I need to use the bathroom. I just sat down and started watching the damn thing. So, but yeah, I'm like, no, where does it stand overall? Because we have a lot of DCEU films now. Okay, I'll actually go from worst to best on this real quick. Birds of Prey, I think, is the worst. It's the only DCEU film I've actually not liked that much. I own it. Don't get me wrong, I own it. And there's parts I like about it, certainly. But it's the one I like the least. Then we have... Ooh, actually, after that, then I'll go Wonder Woman 84. That movie has too many problems to it that I like it more than I could rewatch that more than I could watch Birds of Prey, but that's about it. After that, though, I kind of like everything in its own way. Like, I don't hate anything in the DCU after that. I will say, though, that I will go Suicide Squad next. It's a hot mess, but a fun hot mess. I will probably go after that. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go Justice League after that. Then I'm gonna go Suicide Squad. Snyder Cut is better than Justice League. Now, do I think a Snyder Cut is better than any of the other ones that came? It is probably better than Batman v Superman. So I will put Batman v Superman. I'll put Batman v Superman after that. So that's 5. And then after that, I think all the other films I think are on the better side. Wonder Woman is better than the Snyder Cut. Man of Steel is better than the Snyder Cut. Shazam is better than the Snyder Cut. Aquaman is better than the Snyder Cut. But I think the Snyder Cut is probably like a little bit above the middle. So it's in the upper half of the DCEU. If I'm missing something, let me know. I don't think I am. I think I got them all. But ultimately, my thoughts are it's good. It is. I'm glad this exists. My girlfriend is watching it, I think, as we speak right now. She's currently out of town. She shall hopefully be back in a little while, in a few weeks. Few days. So she wants to call and, chat about that, and we'll finally have a conversation piece to talk about. So ultimately, that is my thoughts on the Snyder Cut. If you got HBO Max, absolutely check it out. And beauty of it being on HBO Max, you can watch it in your own accord. So if you don't want to sit through the full 4 hours, you can pause, do what you need to do. And if you don't have HBO Max, but you still want to watch it, I mean, nothing's stopping. HBO Max, as far as I know, isn't that expensive. So, if you want to just get it for the Snyder Cut, I mean, there's more than that on HBO Max that you can watch. I highly recommend a lot of stuff. But still, if you want to watch it, no one's going to stop you. Or if you want to get it just for that, no one's going to stop you. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, who wants to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Hit that bell if you want to be notified. I'll be back today with What If and Pokemon video. I haven't done a Pokemon video in a while, and I know exactly what I'm going to talk about too. I'm going to change course a little bit from the Gen 9 predictions, which I've been doing, which we're not going to get Gen 9 for a while, so don't worry. But still, we're going to change course a little bit today. So anyway, thanks for watching. See you later, folks.